She found the text messages on a Tuesday night in March. 17 months of careful deception hidden in a folder labeled work files. It wasn't just what he'd done, it was the lies she could no longer ignore, that their marriage was strong enough to weather anything. 3 years later, after therapy, after late-night conversations that never quite resolve, after he's apologized 1,000 times, she still can't look at him without feeling that same sickening twist in her stomach. And the hardest part? She's forgiven him, completely. So why does she still feel so broken? Today, we're telling the story of two people who discovered that forgiveness and healing are not the same thing, and sometimes love alone isn't enough to fix what's been shattered. Hello, I'm Ronnie. You know, in our culture, we're often taught that if you truly love someone, you can forgive anything, that love conquers all. But what happens when you forgive someone genuinely, deeply, and the wound still bleeds? What happens when "I'm sorry" doesn't actually heal the damage? That's the story we're exploring today. It's about a marriage that survived infidelity, but at what cost? Let's listen to their story.
Sarah had always been the type to trust her instincts. That night, standing in their kitchen while Michael was asleep upstairs, something whispered to her, "Check his phone. Just check." She'd never been that person before, the jealous type, the snooper. But their marriage had felt different lately, quieter, more distant. His phone sat on the counter, still glowing. She picked it up. The passcode was their anniversary. It always had been. Her hands trembled as she navigated to his messages, and there they were, 17 months of carefully hidden texts, flirty, intimate, some explicitly sexual, to someone named Rachel from his office. Rachel. She knew Rachel, had smiled at her at the company Christmas party, had asked Michael if he thought she was pretty. He'd said no. He'd lied. Sarah sank onto the kitchen floor, reading every single message. She didn't cry, not yet. First came the numbness, the surreal sensation of watching her entire life fracture in real time. Then came the rage. She woke him at 2 a.m. Michael, tall, dark-haired, handsome in that tired, middle-aged way, was disoriented at first. Then she threw the phone at him. He didn't even try to run. That's what struck her most. He didn't deny it, didn't make excuses. He just sat there, staring at the phone, and said 4 words. "I don't know why I did it." Sarah wanted him to fight back, to give her someone to rage against. Instead, he crumbled. He confessed everything. It had started as an emotional connection. Rachel understood him in ways Sarah didn't anymore. Then it became physical, 3 times, in a hotel, in her car, once in his office after hours, never at home, as if that made it better. Sarah listened to the details like she was listening to someone describe a crime scene, which, in a way, he was. By 4 a.m., she'd made a decision. She would stay. Not because she believed in forgiveness, not because she believed in second chances, but because she needed to prove something to herself, that she was strong enough to survive this, that leaving would be giving up, that staying would be winning. She didn't know yet that staying would cost her something far more valuable than the marriage itself. Staying meant sleeping in the guest room. It meant watching him move through the house like a ghost, trying to be invisible, trying to atone through silence. It meant him offering constant apologies. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. I never meant to hurt you. I'll do anything to fix this," until the words became white noise. She wanted him to growl more. She wanted him to suffer the way she was suffering. She wanted him to feel this specific kind of humiliation, the knowledge that she knew exactly what he'd done, with whom, and how many times. In the second week, she called a therapist, not for the marriage, for herself. She needed to understand how she'd missed this, how she'd been so blind. Dr. Melissa, their therapist, was a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and an unsettling ability to ask the questions nobody wanted to answer. In that first session, sitting in a leather chair across from Michael, Sarah couldn't even look at him. She stared at the abstract painting on the wall, all jagged lines and fractured colors, and realized it looked exactly like her insides felt. Dr. Melissa asked them both, "What do you want to happen from this point forward?" Michael said he wanted to rebuild, to earn back her trust, to make it right. When she asked Sarah the same question, Sarah found she couldn't articulate it. She didn't know what she wanted, except maybe to make him disappear.
By month 3, they fell into a rhythm. Michael stopped working late. He started bringing her flowers on Wednesdays. He texted her throughout the day. Innocent, banal messages. "How's your day? What do you want for dinner?" He was trying so hard that it made her angrier. She wanted him to fail. She wanted to catch him in another lie so she could justify the rage that still lived in her chest. Rachel had left the company. Michael had made sure of it. He'd recommended her for a position elsewhere, smoothed her exit, erased the physical reminder of his infidelity from their daily geography. Sarah found herself perversely disappointed by this. It felt too easy, too solved. Around them, their marriage began to look normal again from the outside. They went to dinner parties, they held hands. Once, at a friend's birthday, someone asked them how they were doing, and Michael said, "We're working through some things, but we're stronger than ever." Sarah had smiled politely and felt her stomach turn. Stronger? They weren't strong, they were performing. She was performing. She'd become an actress in her own life, playing the role of the wife who'd forgiven, while inside, a part of her was still that woman on the kitchen floor, watching her world crack. 2 years in, during what should have been a routine therapy session, Sarah said something that changed everything. Dr. Melissa had been asking her about forgiveness, whether she felt she'd achieved it. Sarah had been saying yes for months now, but that day, something broke. "I forgive him," she said, her voice steady and hollow. "I've forgiven him, but I can't forgive myself for staying." The room went silent. Michael leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Sarah looked at him then, really looked at him for the first time in months. She saw the man she'd chosen to marry 20 years ago. She also saw the stranger who'd lied to her for 17 months. Both were true. Both existed in the same body. "I stayed to prove I was strong," she said, "but I think I just proved I was weak, that I'd rather live with someone who broke me than face the possibility of being alone." Michael reached for her hand. She pulled away, not in anger, in grief for both of them. She wasn't angry at him anymore. She was angry at herself for allowing this to become normal, for letting fear masquerade as love. Dr. Melissa asked her what she needed. Sarah didn't have an answer, but she knew it wasn't this. It wasn't standing in her kitchen pretending everything was fine. It wasn't lying in bed next to a man she no longer trusted, wondering if he was lying about where he'd been that day, or who he'd texted, or if the intimacy they'd rebuilt was just another illusion. The apology had come, it had been sincere, he'd done everything she'd asked, and she still felt broken. That's when she understood forgiveness wasn't a destination, it was a process with no endpoint, and she was exhausted. That evening, Sarah stood in front of the mirror in their bedroom. She barely recognized herself, not because she looked different, because she was seeing herself clearly for perhaps the first time in 2 years. She'd given up so much to stay, her peace of mind, her self-respect, her ability to trust her own instincts. She'd believed that forgiving him would make her strong. Instead, it had made her small. She'd stayed in this marriage like a soldier staying in a war, telling herself that retreat meant failure. But what if she'd had it backwards? What if leaving was the only way to actually heal? Michael was downstairs, probably reviewing work emails or watching television, unaware that his wife was upstairs having an existential reckoning. She thought about Rachel. She'd never actually met her, not really, just saw her once at a party, exchanged pleasantries. Rachel probably felt the intensity of Michael's attention, the rush of being desired by someone outside a marriage. Sarah didn't hate her, she envied her in some twisted way. Rachel got the version of Michael that wasn't burdened by mortgage payments and aging parents and the slow erosion of passion that comes with 20 years together. Rachel got the fantasy, Sarah got the reality. And the reality was that she couldn't unsee what she'd seen. She couldn't unfeel what she'd felt. Some things, once broken, don't go back together the same way. You can glue them, yes. You can make them functional, but the cracks remain. You can see them every time the light hits right.
She told him the next morning, calmly, without anger, which somehow made it worse. Michael listened as she explained that staying hadn't healed them. It had just prolonged the suffering. He said, "So you're leaving me?" And she said, "I'm leaving this. This isn't healing, Michael. It's just existing in the same house with someone I no longer know." He tried to convince her to stay. He offered to do more therapy, more work, more everything. But she'd already decided. She loved him still. She realized that now. You don't just stop loving someone because they hurt you. Love is more complicated than that. Love and betrayal can coexist. They can haunt you side by side. But staying out of love when your entire nervous system tells you to run, that's not noble. That's trauma. He asked if they could at least try again, give it more time. And she looked at him with genuine sadness and said, "I've already given it everything I have, and I'm still broken, so what's left to try?" The conversation lasted 2 hours. By the end, they were both crying. But they weren't crying about the same things. He was crying because he was losing her. She was crying because she was finally choosing herself. In the weeks after she moved out, Sarah realized something society doesn't tell you. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not synonymous. You can forgive someone and still need to leave them. You can understand their pain and still protect your own. You can love them and know that love isn't enough to rebuild what's been destroyed. Michael tried to reach out. Not desperate messages, he was respecting her space, but little things. He sent her a book she'd mentioned wanting to read. He'd let her know when he'd paid off the couple's therapy bills without her asking. He was being good, so carefully, painfully good, and it only reinforced what she now knew. His apologies had never been for her healing, they'd been for his. He'd needed her forgiveness to forgive himself. She'd been a mirror held up to his guilt. Now, 6 months later, as she sat in her new apartment, small but quiet and hers, she thought about that moment on the kitchen floor when she'd discovered the truth. That version of Sarah had believed that staying would be the strong choice, that forgiveness would be an act of power. But the real power had come from leaving, from finally saying, "Your apology is noted, your regret is real, but I cannot set myself on fire to keep you warm." The hardest truth to accept was this: he was sorry, genuinely sorry, and it still wasn't enough, because apologies are about the past, and she needed to survive the present.
Michael found his own apartment. He found a therapist who specialized in betrayal and infidelity, not couples therapy this time, but individual work. He began the long process of understanding why he'd done what he did, not to win Sarah back, she'd made it clear that ship had sailed, but because he needed to understand himself, needed to look at the parts of him that were capable of such calculated deception. Sarah, for her part, began to heal in ways she didn't expect, not because time is a magical healer, that's a lie they tell you, but because she was finally listening to herself again, because she was no longer trying to be the strong wife who could forgive anything. She was just a woman who'd been hurt and was learning to live with the scar. They ran into each other 6 months after the separation at a coffee shop. Both of them froze. Then Michael smiled sadly and said, "Hi." She said hi back. They talked for 20 minutes. Nothing deep, nothing that mattered, just the kind of small talk you make with someone from your past. As they parted, he said, "I'm sorry. Again, I know it doesn't change anything."
She smiled for the first time in their entire conversation and said, "You're right, it doesn't, but thank you anyway." And she meant it, not because his apology had healed her, but because she'd finally healed herself. She'd forgiven him not by staying, but by leaving, not by suppressing her anger, but by channeling it into change. The apology that wasn't enough had finally become enough, not because he'd said it perfectly, but because she'd finally stopped waiting for words to fix what only actions could mend.
The question isn't whether she still loves him. The answer is yes. Love doesn't disappear because someone betrays you, it just changes form. It becomes something more complex, something that exists alongside hurt and anger and disappointment. The question isn't whether his apology was enough. It was, and it wasn't. It was sincere, and it was ineffective. It was necessary, and it was insufficient. Most apologies are. They're words offered to repair what words help destroy. But words can only do so much. The real question, the only one that matters, is this: are you willing to sacrifice your own healing on the altar of someone else's redemption? Sarah's answer was no. And in saying no, she finally said yes to herself. She goes to therapy. She's learned to trust her instincts again. She's even been on a few dates, though she's not rushing. She's learning that healing isn't about finding someone new. It's about becoming someone new. Someone who won't accept crumbs of affection dressed up as apologies. Someone who understands that forgiveness doesn't require you to stay. Someone who knows that the strongest thing you can do sometimes is walk away. Michael learned his own lessons about accountability, about honesty, about the difference between the man he thought he was and the man he actually became when tested. Years from now, they might not be friends. They might occasionally see each other at a grocery store and nod in recognition of what they shared, or they might never speak again. Both outcomes would be okay, because they've both learned the same hard-won truth. You can forgive someone completely and still need to leave them. You can love someone deeply and still need to protect yourself. You can be sorry and still not be enough. And sometimes, most times, that's not a tragedy. That's just being human.